what's coming up this week on the Charged Up Bolts podcast.
It's that whole Kevin Keegan attitude.
I worship at the altar of the Lucky Surfboard.
Telesco could have had the horn.
Allegedly.
Shenanigans, I like it.
If looks could kill, I'm already dead because John's giving me that death stare.
Hello and welcome to the Charged Up Bolts podcast. I'm your host, Elliot Bermudez, and on this podcast, we bring you the latest Chargers news. We preview and review every Chargers game, and we bring you the hottest takes around. Well, here we are. We're 1-0. It's week 2. It's Cowboys week. Back home. It is back home, isn't it, guys? It is at SoFi, the greatest stadium in the world.
It is.
With Rivers Lake just outside. So we get our first home game. Yeah, it's just a bit. We're really excited, but it's going to be a different challenge to week 1. I am joined by 2 of my co-hosts. First up is the man from London Town, John Moss Jr.
Hello, Bez. It's a good job we're not doing this, or we weren't doing this yesterday. I woke up with a terrible cold, had the second COVID jab, sounded like Darth Vader. Anyone tuning in would have thought this would have been a Raiders podcast. That second jab's maybe a bit crazy. I woke up this morning wondering whether or not Mike McCoy was starting Dan Fouts left tackle on Sunday. I'm okay now. I'm okay. Got plenty of fluid, plenty of rest. I'm good to go.
I'm supposed to be seeing you next week. Maybe I'll have to keep, 60 meters apart and just not come.
I'll be fine.
And we are also joined all the way from the California, John Ayres.
How's it going? It's good to be back here, broadcasting live from the hashtag Herbert Hanger. Today, I've got an exciting new segment where I have some special guest coming in to give us a little bit of a preview on the Cowboys. Oh, surprise guest. He's
get this one quiet.
This might be a weekly segment of this guy coming in. He's going to be able to give us a nice weekly update of our opponent because he travels all the time. So
Tony Romo's coming into the studio, man. What the heck?
What a coup that is!
Not quite, but we'll see who the special guest is.
I'm really excited. Big shout out, thanks Dan for tuning in. We miss you. Get well soon. And also Curtis, can't wait to have you on soon for your episode debut. Enjoy your meeting, and we'll get you on soon. So it is. Gentlemen, week 2, it is a big game. It's America's team, big supported franchise up against Dallas. We take it home. We they blew it apart in week 1 in the air. They went to Amari Cooper, who won me a fantasy week with an incredible game. CeeDee Lamb, absolutely phenomenal. Dak Prescott was great. What do we think the biggest challenges are coming into week 2? Are we thinking that we've got some good matchups? What are we fearful for, guys?
Go on, John. I'll let you go first.
For me, it's really going to be what is this defensive back set going to do against the wide receivers for the Cowboys? For me, that's the biggest question mark coming in because they've got a lot of talent, a lot more talent than Washington. So, depending on, who's lined up where, obviously getting pressure is going to be the name of the game for us. That's really what we want to see out of this defense is getting pressure. And, but if we can't get pressure and Dak has time, it's really scary proposition trying to figure out how we're going to cover CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Both guys are explosive. Both guys can make big plays at any time. And every time they touch the ball, I'm going to hold my breath because we've had tackling troubles in the past with our DBs. And I just worry that if any of those crop up, we're going to give up some big plays quickly. And, the last thing we want to do is turn this into a massive shootout where we're trying to score 40 points. So, again, I think that's probably where we're headed anyways. I think both these offenses are looking pretty primed and ready to go. So I think just seeing how our DBs match up against their wide receivers is going to be something that I'm really interested in watching this weekend.
Yeah, Kaiser White had a great game in week 1. I think it was the second ranked highest grade player on the Chargers defense. Now, Ezekiel Elliott under 40 yards against Tampa Bay. I think there'll be certain players on the Cowboys that will come in and try and rebound from that defeat. And that's what we've got to guard against is first game in our own building. They'll want to come and dominate. I think we just got to guard against. I don't want to say complacency, but we've got to prevent Dallas from getting off to a fast start. If you looked at the Chargers last week, we played against Washington. We started off with a really nice drive. We had defensive rhythm. Washington got back into the game. Their third-ranked defense started doing their job. But look, we stayed patient, and that's the key to it. We executed, especially in the fourth quarter, and that was the issue last season. And if we could just do that again, there's going to be times in this game when we're on the back foot. I saw it on Sunday, a lot of folk on Twitter saying, I'm tuning out, I've had enough. Come on, guys, this is Justin Herbert. John, question for you. Is this arguably the most exciting Chargers team in 15, 16 years?
Maybe. It's hard to say, really. Obviously, the teams, I think there's a lot of new excitement coming on right now, but I think if you're going back that far and you're really talking about getting back to potentially going into the LT era, I think that was a special time when you had Rivers and LT on the field at the same time. I think there was a special offense out there. I think the defense had some great players. Sean Merriman, lights out, so it's hard for me to say that in the last 15 years, this is the most exciting team we've fielded out there. But I think it is very exciting. Definitely way more exciting than the last 5 or 6 years. I'll say that for sure. So it's yet to be seen. Again, we didn't quite see the massive point output that I thought we would see from them in week 1. And part of that, I think, is just drops and misfortune, right? I mean, you had Keenan Allen on that just very, very un-Keenan Allen-like drop in the red zone area. If he'd called that in, would have been a first down, would have been more. We would have been right there threatening to score. Instead, we settled for a field goal. We had a nice dime. No, we had a nice dime pass, jump ball to Mike Williams. I mean, Herbert put it exactly where you want to put it. Mike had it, and he just couldn't haul it in. That should have been another touchdown. And then in another trip to the red zone, we had that just atrocious fumble call. I mean,
goodness, what was that?
That was pathetic officiating. And you know what? You get it wrong, that's fine. It was reviewed. The fact that it was someone had the wherewithal to review it and then go, nah, that's fine. That definitely looks like a fumble. That to me is just awful officiating. But again, that cost us another potential touchdown opportunity there. So I think that game could have been a much higher scoring game. So I'm hoping they clean some of those little things up. And I'm hoping the officiating is better. And I'm hoping that they're going to be able to, put some good points on the board, because I really don't think 20 points is going to be enough to win this one. So I want to see as much flash and excitement. I want to see more passing to Eckler. I want to get Eckler involved in that in that passing game. And I think part of that is, again, a result of the defense that they played. Staley's signature is that he creates a defensive plan for every team he played against. And I believe that he has brought that vision to his offense as well and said, Lombardi, look, I don't care how good Eckler is catching the ball out of the backfield. Like, based off the defensive matchup we're going to see, I don't think it's a good idea that we put him out there like that. I think it works better in our favor if we do a different thing with them. And I think that's what we saw. I don't think that's the same for the Cowboys defense. That defense is obviously got tore up by Tampa Bay. And I think that there's an opportunity for Eckler to get back into his old Eckler form. So I think what we're going to see is Eckler back into his pass catching role a little bit more against the Dallas defense. And I think that'll be exciting.
I think it's going to be a mega game.
DeMarcus Lawrence is out. That's a huge blow for Dallas. I was looking forward to him squaring off against Slater. That's not going to happen. It's whether or not Dallas has now got enough in pass rush to actually disrupt the pocket. I mean, if you see the tweets from putting out earlier on, there's a great bit of footage on Twitter that we've retweeted at Charged Up Bolts. 7-man blitz, cover 0 against Tom Brady, and he still found Gronk in the end zone. Okay, there's lots of question marks over Dallas. But going back to your original question, Bez, I mean, for 3 quarters of that game against Washington, I was really happy. I had a smile on my face. I felt quite comfortable. It didn't feel like the Chargers of the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. And I'm not anxious, but I'm kind of sort of, can we do that again on Sunday? I want to see that. I don't want to be sat there with my heart racing, thinking this is a close game. I just want to see if we can come up with a similar game plan and get some momentum going. You know, we had stops all over the place against Washington. Sante Samuel, he had a couple of good stops. I mean, him and Kaiser White for that first down on the Washington 3rd-yard line after Justin Herbert's interception. That didn't happen 2 years ago.
Beautiful.
It didn't happen last year.
I just like the hungry nature of it. You know, I was buzzing to, you know, I was watching them. I watched it back and see them buzzing around. Kaiser White comes in, the tackle, bring the guy down, rip the ball out. And who's the first person hungry to go and get that loose ball? It's K9. You know, Kenneth Murray, absolutely on it. They clearly all the time, it was building up in the game, were desperate to make a big impact. They were looking for the big play, and it came to them, and they made it. And I think going back to John's point about sort of the score, I felt that Washington scored the most they could have scored. Right, they had a couple of periods when they were stifled. I don't think they left many points on the field, whereas I think we did. Some calls went against us, and we looked electric, but we didn't quite deliver. So I think the potential for us to have scored 10 more points at least was there. And I think we go into a Cowboys game where, you know, the comments, Curtis Egan's there is worried about their secondary. I agree. I think it's one that we can rip. Have you seen Mike Williams absolutely taking the mickey out of their team
in coverage? You know, they're in for a nasty time on Sunday against Williams and Keenan Allen, and put Jared Cook into the mix there as well. You know, they are really getting beat. Their secondary is not up to stack, and I think we've got to start exploiting that. I think the Chargers are sort of like 64% passing plays on Sunday against Washington. I expect that to go up, especially if they start blowing coverages on our first drive. Look, Staley's too clever, in my opinion, to not change the game. We start seeing weaknesses. I think going forward, once those cracks start appearing, either on the opposition's offense or defense, expect us to make the adjustments and capitalize on that. Something that we've not seen for a long time with the Chargers. Expect to see on Sunday, and this is going to be a great opportunity for us to do that. You know, Dak Prescott on his day is brilliant. Elliott on his day is brilliant. We've got to make sure that they're average. And if they're average, it's good night. And Jerry Jones will make all the players walk back to Dallas.
I just don't see it being as easy as we think. There's two guys I'd like to turn our attention to now that had stellar week ones. And I want to know if you think they can maintain it going into week two. The first guy is Mike Williams, who turned up. He wasn't a bit part player. He was elite. He was absolutely on fire with his touchdown and with his few drops, but you know, he was contributing constantly as a foil to Keenan Allen on the other side. And the second is my man. Who is it? Rashawn Slater. Give me some stats on Rashawn Slater. Do you think he can keep it up? And then I'll come to John about Mike Williams.
Slater was the highest graded offensive lineman on the Chargers. Okay, his pass rush grade was something like 90 odd. This footage against Washington, I think it's Sweat. I can't remember who the defensive lineman was. It was basically, come on, bring it on. You ain't getting through me. He didn't allow one single pressure. Yes, he can. And he will keep performing to that level. There's a reason why we drafted him so highly. There's a reason why he was a first round draft pick. The guy's a ball, and I think he's just got that mentality. He's got the ability. He's obviously learning, and certainly the coaching staff trust him. You're going to trust him as a first round pick. But yeah, absolutely. And because Lawrence is not playing, I don't want to say it's making his job easier. But it's like anything else. If you're not facing Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, the top potent edge rushers in the game, it's something less to worry about. So, yes, absolutely he can.
John, what do you reckon? So, Mike Williams and Slater, can they keep it up?
So, I'm definitely not worried about Rashawn Slater right now. I mean, after seeing what he was doing in camp and then seeing what he did in week one against two very, very good defensive ends. I mean, didn't matter if they tried to throw Montez Sweat at him. Didn't matter if they tried to throw Chase Young at him. He handled everything they threw at him, and he just dominated. And, you know, you've got both of the main pass rushing options for the Cowboys out. So I don't really have any fear about that. However, you know, they do have Terrell Basham, and Basham is talking about lining up opposite of Brian Bulaga. That's who I would worry about on the offensive line if I'm worrying. Bulaga's constantly injured. Who knows what his health is going to be like? He may not last long before Storm Norton's in there. So I am kind of worried about that side of the line, but I have zero worries about Rashawn Slater. As far as Mike Williams goes, it feels like you're kind of trolling me a little bit by asking me how good I think Mike Williams is going to be after I famously said I would have no problem with them cutting him and saving the money and going elsewhere for wide receiver help. You know, we'll see what happens out there. I mean, my assumption is, like you said, everything's going to change week to week as far as how the offense is set up and how the usage is. But what makes me believe that you're going to see a similar type performance from Mike Williams this week is that he was doing so much more than his just general, hey, I'm going to run these routes and go after 50-50 balls. He was using his body and leverage, and he was boxing people out. He was making, you know, he's making the catch when he needed to make it in tight windows. I mean, he was getting open, kind of. I mean, he doesn't really create separation, but he was getting open in his way. I think Mike Williams had a great game. Again, I think obviously you're always going to be leaning on Keenan Allen because why wouldn't you? He's one of the best receivers in the league for a reason. So I think you're always going to see them continue to lean on Keenan Allen. But I do think that that Mike Williams' role stays about the same. Yeah, they'll probably scheme him a little bit different. You know, Mike McCarthy came out in a press conference and said that he thinks that Justin Herbert throws a lot of 50-50 balls, so they're practicing against those. So who knows if that's real or not. Obviously, we know that's not true about him throwing a bunch of 50-50 balls, but, you know, Mike McCarthy's an awful head coach. So, you know, he's going to do what he's going to do. But I think that, you know, you're going to see maybe a slightly different usage out of Mike Williams again, but I think he's still going to be heavily targeted. I think there's definitely a rapport there that he has with Justin Herbert. So I think, I think if, especially from a fantasy perspective, if you're thinking about, you know, hey, should I start Mike Williams for this matchup? I think you should. I think that the Dallas Cowboys defense has a lot of holes in it. And I think that Herbert and the crew are going to be able to expose them. So, you know, I guess I am full go on that Mike Williams hype train. I'm all aboard.
Look, if Mike Williams and Keenan fumble or drop the ball, as in case of Mike Williams in week 1, and we're getting away with wins, I'm happy with that for the first couple of weeks. The guy's still getting used to playing at full speed, okay, in a live game. It's very different when you're in OTAs, in training camp. You know, when you're lining up against the likes of Chris Harris, you know he's not going to take your head off because he's a teammate. There's a lot. If you look at that end zone drop, and you actually pause the tape and you look at Mike Williams, he looked panicked. I don't know whether one of the Washington defensive backs there actually spooked him. I haven't got the audio. I haven't heard it, but he looked a bit panicked. But look, I'm fine with that. It will get better as the season goes on, and we've seen him before making clutch plays. And you just got to be positive, especially when Herbert is slinging the ball down to them. I mean, that touchdown was phenomenal. 4 wide outs to the right. He was on his own to the left, picking up the rookie, touchdown. You know, we're going to see a lot of that this season. And I think if you're the defensive coordinator, you're the head coach of the Cowboys, the first thing you're going to do is the first question you've got to ask yourself when you come to that building after that loss to Tampa Bay is, how do we stop the Chargers passing the football? How do we stop their receivers? Well, guess what? Good luck, because if you can figure that one out, I don't think you're going to figure it out for 4 quarters. No chance. You might do it once or twice. No, I don't see it. We're too good, and that might sound a bit big-headed. I don't care. I'm all in on the Chargers this season. We're going to be cooking. I'm telling you now.
He's going to predict a 50 burger on the Chiefs if he's not careful here. He's getting giddy. I mean, there's a few things I want us to improve on. I'd like to see, first of all, Eckler more involved. You know, Snowy, thank you for your comment in the chat. Yes, we didn't need to use him, says Herbert. And I think that's absolutely fair, but I think we're going to have to rely on him and to add something a little different this week. And I think number 2, we need to use Josh Palmer as a foil, because the Cowboys secondary isn't all that. It knows what's coming in Keenan, and it knows what's coming in Mike Williams. So use Josh Palmer and Eckler, 2 more weapons that we can deploy to try and get something a bit different and get some points on the board. And I think we will do. I'd also like to see Justin Herbert run a bit because I'm not sure they'll anticipate it. I think that you can tell that he's comfortable in the pocket. He thinks he can pick out his man. And he's right, isn't he, to be fair? But I think he's going to, with lack of pressure, he's going to be able to take his time, look down, and there'll be snaps where he says, do you know what? I'm going to take this. I'm going to run because they can't cover Palmer, Williams, Eckler, Allen. They can't cover Cook. If we really go for it and really do a New Orleans spread offense, as Lombardi likes, I think we'll absolutely tear them to shreds.
I do not want to see Herbert blocking like he did last season. Like we've seen in the past with Rivers when he got out of the pocket. I don't want to see that because he's going to come unstuck. Look, Herbert, he's fearless and he will do it. We see with other quarterbacks of his generation, they will do it, but I don't want to see it.
I do. It's exciting. I think he's robust. I don't want to jinx the lad. Dan King agrees with me. He wants to see some Palmer. Curtis disagrees. He wants to see Roundtree. We saw bursts of Roundtree against Washington. I think he's got talent. I think he can. The thing is,
he can block. That dude can block.
He's a big lad. The thing is, I don't want to jinx him and for him to come into the game, get more reps, and have a Kelly sort of fumble confidence. Use him in spells. Use him at the right moments when you've worn down their reserve D line. Then bring out Roundtree to absolutely hammer the rock home. I like that idea, Curtis. Cracking comment. I want to know, what do you think about the lack of firepower from the Cowboys? Are we underestimating them, John? They've got Gregory out. They've got Lawrence out. You mentioned Basham. Do you think we just need to be cautious, or do you think they're going to stop the run? Do you think we should need to adjust to change that? Can we take it for granted?
Well, obviously, I do want to see adjustments. You're going to have a different game plan versus Dallas than you would against Washington. I think part of that is just, you're not going up against Washington's defensive line again. That is one of the best defensive lines in the entire league. So I think there definitely is a need to look at your opponent and go, well, where are they soft? Where could you potentially capitalize on them? Obviously, Tampa Bay capitalized on them pretty heavily last week. Tampa Bay's got their own set of receivers that are just outstanding. They've got obviously one of the best quarterbacks of all time, still playing at a high level. So when you've got all those things going for you, it's easy to put up points. So, I don't want to go and say, oh, just because the data and the stats and the metrics say that Dallas had one of the worst defenses in the league last year, I don't want to go jump out and say, oh, they're the worst defense in the league, because I don't think that's true. I think when you go against an offense that's humming like the Bucks are, because again, once Brady got into his rhythm, you saw how well-oiled machine that offense is, and they've now carried it over into this week one. So I don't blame the Cowboys defense for being atrocious. But to me, that also says that if you are a good offense, like I believe the Chargers are, they can definitely capitalize. So I want to see something a little different again. I'd like to see Eckler more involved in the passing game this week. I think that there's going to be a need for it. I think that you're going to see the Cowboys maybe see what happened to on some of those bigger gash plays by the Chargers offense on third down and say, hey, you know what? We're going to sit back a little bit. We're going to, we're not going to let them beat us on those kinds of throws. And I think when that happens, the dump offs, the screens, those that we were so used to seeing before, I think some of those plays creep back into the playbook this week and allow us to kind of say, hey, if you want to overcompensate, which I think teams like Dallas tend to do because they're bad defenses, again, not the worst, but I do think they're a bad defense. So bad defenses will overcompensate for what they think they see a team do in the week before. So I think they overcompensate on bigger throws, leaving those shorter throws more available. And that's why I think we're going to change this week and why we're going to see more Eckler, maybe even more Cook, even though we did see a lot of Cook. And I think we're going to also see more on the running game this week. I think there might be concentration more on exposing a defense that has lighter boxes because they really want to focus on stopping the pass. So that's what I think I see as far as changes this week in the offense.
Yeah, and I think going back to the Washington game, we left points on the field, I believe. We had a 10-play drive, an 18-play drive that didn't come to a touchdown. And we need to start making the most of those opportunities because we are going to come up against some really, really tough opposition down the stretch, especially when we start getting to the AFC Championship, etc. But we've just got to be at our best, and what your point was, Bez. No, we can't be complacent because we will come unstuck. And what we don't want to do is come into the game week 3 against the Dallas Texans. I'm not calling them the Chiefs anymore. We don't want to go into that 1-1 saying we could have gone this 2-0 because that then puts us as a franchise on a downward spiral. You know, we've got to try and maintain that momentum however we can. This is a great opportunity. Dallas have got players that can change the game, but I don't feel that they've got enough coming into this match. Look, they finished 6-10 last season. They got you could on paper it was a narrow defeat against Tampa, but they gave up nearly over 400 yards. All right, Elliott was held to less than 40 yards rushing. Dak, the last time he played the Chargers, threw a pick 6 and an interception. He didn't have a good day. It was on Thanksgiving against Phillip Rivers' offense. There's no reason why we can't just dial this in. And it's easier said than done. I know that. But we've got question marks. Again, Brian Balaga. Derwin James hasn't trained all week. He's got a sore toe. Now, he was absolutely phenomenal. There's a reason why he got a game ball last week, Brandon Staley, because he was superb. Highest ranked Chargers defensive player for week 1. You know, the only one to be graded by PFF at 90 or above. There's a reason why he was graded at 90 or above, because he's outstanding. You know, my gut feeling says they just kept him out as precaution. That guy probably doesn't need to practice at all. He's just a natural player.
I like that methodology. I like that approach.
Yeah, look, if Herbert went down with COVID or something, you could probably put Derwin James in under centre. He'd probably still get 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown.
Whatever next. Dan King at kicker.
Dan King at kicker, who knows? But look, it's we just don't know. If anybody sat here last week and said that every single AFC West team was going to finish week 1-0, play my lottery numbers, please. You just don't know. All the Packers are going to get absolutely mauled, and Aaron Rodgers is going to have the worst game of his career. You just don't know. We can only speculate and project what we think might happen. And I think we're going to come away from Sunday with a 2-0 win. I tell you what I'd like to know. I'd love to be there when Jerry Jones lands in the middle of the field on his helicopter. Well, he can't, can he, on the roof? He'll probably say something like, "My shoe closet's as big as this place." I'd love to be there when
hand in the L, send him on his way.
Yeah.
I like this, Snowy. We're last in the division. We need a win. We do need a win, and I'm going to say to the rest of the guys, predictions. Put them on the line. I've already got Dan's. So Dan is saying we're going to win 23-21 with a walk-off field goal. Please to God, don't make it be that close. He's already predicting we're going to miss an extra point. I want to know from you guys what your predictions are. Put your nail to the cross and let me know.
I'm going 28-14 Chargers.
28-14. So you think that this defense is keeping them down to 2 scores?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't. Again, I haven't seen all the official predictions coming in, but I do see that there's a lot of action on the Cowboys side. So it seems the Chargers are underdogs yet again. So I like those odds, though. I love it when nobody thinks the Chargers are going to win. I think we perform better without the expectation. So I think, for me to make this prediction accurately, I need to get a little bit of inside information. Again, as promised and teased earlier on, I do have a special correspondent who travels around the country and gives me some inside information. Let's see, who do we have here? It is the traveling Chargers gnome. All right. He was seeing
someone kick him off the podcast quick.
Yeah. Okay, so number 1, he says Greg Zuerlein looks shaky. He looked shaky last week, missing 2 field goals and an extra point, and apparently he still looks shaky according to the gnome. So to me, that is a good thing. I think that we end up having a special teams advantage, which is very uncommon for us. But I think we leave the game with the special teams advantage. So I am not too far off here. I think this game, 31-28 in a barn burner. And yes, that's going to be a win because guess what happens? It's 28-28. Zuerlein misses a field goal. Herbert, with less than a minute on the clock, marches down the field for Vizcaino to hit a 50-plus field goal to win the game. We win by 3, 31-28. Bring out the dubs. Thank you to my Thank you to my wandering correspondent.
Interestingly, Cowboys
I did not say
ranked
that.
32nd on special teams. 32nd on special teams. Not the Chargers. Cowboys ranked last in special teams and special teams DVOA. It's the tide's turning.
Well, look, I don't know if it's funny. We're also getting some great, the gnome is having a say. I don't know how the gnome's going to eat his own hat when he's wrong, but fair enough. Welcome to the podcast. And it looks like everyone wants them to win. I think we're going to drop this one. I think it's going to be the same score as you, but the other way around, 31-28 to the Cowboys. I think it's going to be lights out. I think we're going to annihilate them, but we're going to be a bit complacent, and we're not going to put them away. We'll settle for field goals, and late, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper will come through, but don't panic, because it's just one step down the road towards a Super Bowl. We're not going to go undefeated, but we're still going to pick up the Super Bowl win. Am I wrong?
It's predictions like that why you're not allowed at SoFi Stadium. So,
Guys,
he's going to SoFi. He shouldn't even be here. With a gnome, he's going to SoFi.
are you taking the note for everyone that's watching, everyone listening to our podcast? Thank you. Make sure that you get the autograph off the gnome when you see John at the SoFi.
He'll be watching. I'm not sure if he's going to join me in my seat, but I can tell you right now, he is definitely eager to take a dip in Rivers Lake. So,
yeah, as you hurl him in because we lost and he got the prediction wrong.
If they did get destroyed, this will definitely be the last time we see the gnome. God help you if they beat the Cowboys 31-28, because you're never going to hear the end of the gnome.
No. Guys, we've got any final points to bring up before we bring it to a close?
Yeah, just a big shout out to SD Joe 21 on Twitter. He sent me a message before the show saying great job, and he's a full-time listener now. So thank you, Joe.
It makes a difference. Thank you so much. Guys, I've got something special to play you out, so hold on for this video because our special graphic designer is nailing it. Guys, we're on to the Cowboys. Let's go beat America's team and smash it. Peace out.
Also.